So for each speaker, I'm going to give you a pretty brief bio and then 3 statements. 2 of those statements are true. 1 of those statements is not true. I'm not going to tell you which. You'll just have to talk to the person and figure it out. So first up, our first talk, we have Abby Roza from Minnesota. Abby teaches multiple subjects to students in a one-room schoolhouse setting. She works also in a county correctional facility in Minnesota. Abby's 3 statements. She learned to hula hoop after she turned 40. She usually adds up her time card on her fingers. Or Abby has never had a cavity. Oh my gosh. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together and welcome Abby Roza.
Ago this fall, I was a first-year teacher. Each day, I tried to get 6th graders to line up. It was not good. The hallway was hectic, and my line was no different. The teacher next door advised me to give up. She said, "Miss Roza, 6th graders cannot line up." And on the drive home, I found myself really questioning, can they line up? Working very hard, I had never seen them all line up. Mr. S and Miss J students did not line up. There was little evidence in that hallway that 12-year-olds can line up. I was driving home seriously thinking, they have feet. They have control of the direction of their bodies. I've seen other human beings line up. Ultimately, I had 2 conclusions. 6th graders can of course line up, and ultimately mine did. And it's frighteningly easy, and unfortunately kind of consoling, to buy into very low expectations. We specialize in students with little formal education, interrupted educations, and those who were denied the resources necessary for success in school. Whether our students are immigrants and refugees, or born and educated in the US, our work is necessary because of global and domestic, deeply historic, but also contemporary structures that deny certain groups access to quality education. A student told me that she prays each night for intelligence. She has intelligence. What we need is access and justice. Long racist, classist, ableist, sexist histories and current realities create an environment where policymakers, educators, and worst of all, the students themselves are encouraged to believe that the problem is the students themselves, rather than systems that can be changed. Knowing this, and knowing how bright and capable our students are, we must ask, are we continuing with more of the same, or are we diverging from it? And how do we know? I have failed at high expectations often. I've exposed students to content and moved on without ensuring mastery. I've taught them shortcuts without understanding, participated in programming that completely omitted math or academic writing. I participated in career path education that tracked our students for entry-level work without offering them anything they would need to advance. Imagine what ABE could look like if we committed to the belief that our students can achieve at high levels and created those opportunities. Do we know what high expectations can look like in adult basic education? Let's take a quiet moment right now and consider how you would describe high expectations for adult basic education learners. hope you'll I'll help you share your descriptions of high expectations later on the Adult Numeracy Network's website so we can start building together. Many of you are practiced at using questions to advance student thinking. Let's use those strengths to move the field. In a few minutes, I'll share 3 examples of questions that I ask myself to disrupt the powerful forces that can lead me away from the high expectations that my students deserve. I'm going to ask you to share your own questions that can focus and push us, together with our students, to stronger outcomes. The challenges we face in this effort are real and many. Lack of funded special education and accessibility services is not setting up anyone for success. Beliefs that students have already internalized about their own educational potential are another challenge. What we believe by itself will not change outcomes. Examining and changing practices within our classrooms and systems outside of our classrooms that are not in line with high expectations will change outcomes. We need to think creatively about our instructional time, which is particularly limited and precious. My colleague Julie delivers thoughtful math instruction to students who she has for about 4 hours. Not a day or a week, she has them for 4 hours total. Given our short time with students, it can be tempting to give in to low expectations. When I start to doubt what my students and I can accomplish because of time constraints, I like to remind myself that Annie Fetter taught all of us, an asynchronous, multi-level group, the powerful notice and wonder strategy in 5 minutes. We've all heard statements that foster low expectations. The self-fulfilling, college isn't for everyone, as code for the old idea that rigor is only for a privileged few. The excuse that students don't need something because I can't remember it. The idea that students must memorize number facts before they can have advanced mathematical thinking. The myth that students must develop English fluency before they can access math instruction. The idea that numeracy instruction is competition to literacy instruction. Encouragement to tell students a trick or an algorithm to save time or thought, as if keeping someone from thinking is ever a kindness. Let's envision what it could look like to have high expectations for students at all levels. Did you know that Mark sometimes refers to us as heroes of adult basic education? I love that moment in superhero movies when a powerful group of weirdos comes together to battle injustice. Together, we can support each other to do even more with our programs and our students. Let's start with what we know. High expectations is not difficulty for the sake of difficulty. It's not a no excuses raising the bar without corresponding support. Let's begin with the assumption that every student has the highest possible potential. Let's be ambitious, specific, and targeted in the goals we set with each student. Let's measure growth in a way that is meaningful to the students and is useful for instruction. Let's engage curiosity, wonder, and critical thinking every day. Let's lay a foundation to prepare all students for college access, both skills for navigating systems and an academic foundation that prepares students to succeed in college courses if they choose to pursue them. While it may be intuitive to imagine these changes at our highest levels, let's increase rich academic content at our lowest levels too. I taught beginning English language learning students a numbers unit where they learn names and numerals and the questions like how many, and I was really proud of the unit. And then I learned that my instruction could be so much richer. And now the students are learning the same objectives, and they're doing skip counting and patterns and place value and having a great time. What can we ask to clarify what high expectations can look like in adult basic education? And then to focus our practice on that. To get us started, here are 3 things that I'm asking myself to push back against low expectations. Question 1, am I teaching this in a way that students can build on? Instruction that they cannot build on is a waste of their time and ours. Question 2. When a problem seems impossible, how can I use Dweck and Bowler's Yet to open myself to possibility? Many of us use Yet with students and have found its power in framing potential. We might hear, I don't like math. And we might invite, you don't like math yet? Yet is a tool for us too. I love the one-room schoolhouse's opportunities for individualizing content and delivery and pacing for individual students' needs. In my first years at the county correctional facility, I'd say that I knew the students would benefit from group learning, but I couldn't do it. And it didn't sit right. So I tried, I know they benefit, but I can't figure out how to do it yet. And that little psychological twist opened the door. Sorry. And I found I was getting suggestions from colleagues and experimenting with group instruction that would complement individualized work. I'm still learning, but I know the quality of instruction has improved. Think about your setting. Is there something that would benefit students but seems impossible? Question 3. What is happening in rigorous, high-performing K-12 schools that are teaching the same content? Would I accept the depth of mastery that I offer my students for my own kids' education? Would parents at high-performing schools want our classes for their children? Can our students access that same trajectory for achievement? Learning from other teachers' classrooms and following teachers through Twitter has been a really powerful way for me to push what I'm doing in my classroom. So those are my 3 questions, and here's my call to action. Let's collectively support our students in achieving greater outcomes. Let's ask uncomfortable questions that build a culture of high expectations for ABE students. Meet me at the Adult Numeracy Network or on Twitter, where we can share ideas about what high expectations could look like and the questions that we can ask ourselves to get there. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you.